The information provided by Trading Forex Price Action to you does not constitute personal financial advice. The information provided is of a general nature only and does not take into account your individual objectives, financial situation, or needs. It should not be used, relied upon, or treated as a substitute for specific professional advice.
Midweek Analysis.
Hey guys, this is a midweek analysis for August 18th of 2021. Okay, we'll start off with the Usdjpy pair. This is the monthly chart. We'll start off with an overview. So ultimately, I'm expecting price to fall right back down to this 101 pivot low level right here. However, before that, we're talking about the pullback to 104, then to 109, and then down to this 101 pivot low. So in the long term, I'm still short biased right back down to this 101 pivot low. However, on the weekly chart, since there is more short strength than long strength, in the short term, I'm short biased right back down to this pivot low right here. Okay, let's talk midweek price. Okay, this is a weekly chart. Let me run you by the setup I've been looking at for the past couple of months. So there was a strong long trade that formed right here with the stop loss at this pivot low right here. And so if you recall, I took a long entry right up to this 109 level up here. And at this 109 level, I took out the entire position due to the possibility that this weekly long trade's main target was hit at a monthly trend line that runs right through this level right here. However, on this pullback in this area right here, I was mentioning that there was still a lot of long momentum on the lower time frames, and so price gave another push up. And then as price fell in these areas right here, there was another strong long trade on the daily chart that formed right here with the stop loss at this pivot low right here. And so if you recall, I took a long entry. However, as price came up to these levels right here, I took out 90% of that position due to the possibility that that last week long trade possibly already hit its target at this monthly trend line down, making the higher time frames bias into short. However, soon after on the daily chart, in these areas right here, if you recall, there were many weak daily short trades that formed, which is a common price action setup that shows short-term long strength. Thus, I left in 10% of that daily long trades position all the way up to these levels right here. And then at this pivot high right here, there was another monthly strong downward trend line. So I took another 5% out at this level right here. Then roughly a month ago, there was a new weekly short trade that formed right here. So at that point, I took out the remainder of that long position that I entered at this level right here. And thus, I'm not holding any positions on this pair for the moment. And then furthermore, as price came down to these levels right here, 2 weeks ago, there was a long trade that formed on this weekly chart, which was weaker than the last weekly short trade, and thus the weekly bias is short for the moment. Or in other words, price is likely to reach this pivot low right here before reaching this pivot high, consequently making the main target at this level right here, and the main stop loss level up here at this pivot high. Okay, so last week there was a pullback that I could have entered, however I did not take this short trade. Now let me go ahead and explain to you why. Let's go over to the 4-hour chart. Okay, so on this 4-hour chart, if you recall, I was mentioning that there was a legitimate HNS that formed right here. So as long as the price does not reach the stop loss right shoulder pivot high right here, price is likely to reach its target height level, roughly in these areas right here. However, as you can see, price did stop out that level right here. Now, typically, if this HNS is legitimate, however, price still stops out that right shoulder stop loss level right here before reaching its target height level, that would indicate short-term long strength. However, in this case, upon reanalyzing this 4-hour HNS, I came to the conclusion that this HNS was not up to par aesthetically, similar to what's happening on price patterns on many other pairs during this month of August. Now, I concluded this 4-hour HNS was not up to par aesthetically due to this HNS being too big in comparison to the prior move up right here. Okay, so for the time being, this HNS, in my opinion, does not provide any long or short strength in the short term. For the HNS itself is not up to par aesthetically. Okay, so let me zoom back in here. Okay, so again, that weekly long trade formed roughly in this area right here. So at this point, the weekly bias became short with its main stop loss at this pivot higher up here and its main target being right back down here. Now, as price pulled back in this area, I did not take a short entry with that weekly short bias. Even though the risk reward for this trade with this stop loss at this pivot high right here and its main target right here was mediocre in terms of trade quality, considering the possibility of extensions even further as targets. However, at this point right here, the NFP was released, pushing price up, giving me a setup for a short trade with risk parameters that I'm comfortable with. However, like I always mention as a general rule, I do not take pullback entries where the catalyst for the pullback is based on an NFP release. So based on that general rule, I did not take this short entry. Okay, so although I don't have any positions on this pair for the moment, let me explain to you how I'm viewing the trading environment for this pair at the moment. So let's go back to the weekly chart. Alright, so back on this weekly chart, there was a strong short trade that formed here and a weaker long trade that formed here. So the weekly bias is short, with the main stop loss being at this pivot high and its main target being right back down here. Now for the time being, even if price does give a pullback for another entry short, I will not take a short trade. Now the reason being is because on this weekly chart, there's a rather large gap that runs right through these areas right here. Now these levels are roughly between 111.12 and the bottom end being 108.60. Now this is another rule I always mention, is that when you're taking a trade and on that time frame price is within a big gap, a lot of times price just wiggles around, and although it may reach its target right here, the sheer fact that price is within a gap makes reading price rather complicated. That said, it is readable through price action. However, the many pivots that price make within a range increase the possibility of analysis mistakes. So for the time being, even if price does pull back to these areas, I will not be taking a short entry. And moreover, price is stuck between two monthly gaps also. So let me just go ahead and show you that. Let's go over to the monthly chart. Okay, so on this monthly chart, price is stuck between two monthly gaps, one at the higher level right here and a bigger one at the lower level right here. Alright, so along with that weekly gap that I mentioned earlier that runs right through these levels, price is really in a rangy area. So although price may reach its weekly bias's main target at this pivot low right here, in my opinion, there's no need to take trades in such a congested environment. That said, there are a couple things I'm looking for in terms of trade setups on this pair. So let's go back to the weekly chart. Okay, again on this weekly chart, although the bias is short, with its main target being right back down here and its main stop loss up here, even if price pulls back to these levels up here, I will not be taking any short trades. However, just for confirmation of this weekly bias in fact being short, one thing I am looking for is for price to actually reach its main target at this level, confirming that although the bias is very rangy, price is still pulling through in terms of price action biases. And moreover, the one thing I'm looking for that can override this rangy environment is if compact long price action forms. So on the lower time frames, if this forms, in that case, I'll be willing to take a long entry with this main target being at this pivot high right here. Okay, so to sum this up, even if price does pull back to these areas right here, I will not be taking any short trades based on the overall market environment on this price level. And moreover, in order to confirm the legitimacy of this weekly bias short, I am watching for price to reach that main target level right here. And finally, I'm always looking for compact long price action to form. And on this pair, for the time being, this compact long price action is the only way I will take any trades on this pair for the time being. Okay. Alright, so that's it for the midweek analysis. I hope you guys have a great rest of the week. And thanks for watching. Okay, bye.